As we work towards our big goals in our businesses, it can be really exciting to think about all the things that we can do and how it will feel once we get there. I often ask participants in trainings to take a moment to identify the goal and take a moment to think about how they'll feel and what they'll do when they achieve it. But I also ask another question: what might stop you? And the answers are always so eye-opening. In today's episode, we're going to unpack one of those things that could potentially stop you from achieving the goals you said you want to achieve. I'm Dr. Nadia, founder of the Doyen Agency and creator of Straight Talk About Sales. Tune in. I recently facilitated my Tighten Up Your Sales Game training. And during the training, one of the activities or exercises I have participants do is to think about their big revenue goal. So whether it's over the next 12 months or by the end of the year or a quarterly goal, like to just think about what that goal is, to write it down. And then I ask a series of questions around how would you feel when you achieve this goal? What would you do? How would you celebrate? Like, so there's all these different things of really just helping them to embrace the idea and the feeling of actually achieving this goal. And so on the flip side of that, I also ask, what might stop you, right? Like, we spend this time, we identify a goal, we create a goal, we set a goal, however you think about that. And then we spend an amount of time of just thinking about how would that feel? How would you celebrate? What would you buy? Where would you go? Like really just sitting in that. And then after you've had a moment to experience it, it's the question of what might stop you? And during this particular training, because I ask this question all the time when I teach this particular class, and it was interesting because one of the participants, she said, the question around who does she think she is? And I just kind of had that moment of, whew, right? Like it was so spot on. And, you know, a lot of times we talk about the fear, the doubt, the lack of confidence. Those things definitely come up, and all of them can be rooted in that. But the fact that she put words in that format, because it's not the first time I've heard it. I've heard it from other clients. I've said it myself, like people are going to be like, who does she think she is? And it was just, whoa, right? And just helping her to identify that thing that could stop her from moving forward and doing the things she said she wants to do and accomplishing the goals that she's outlined for her company and herself. And it was just the phrasing of that. And we spent some time kind of unpacking it and doing some of that work around, well, tell me more. And how does that make you feel? And what are some of the things you can do to prepare yourself now that we know what it is? And that's what I want to talk about today. How do we prepare ourselves once we've given a name to the monster? My husband and I have more creative name. We call them the LBs. Send me a message. I'll tell you what that means. But in that, it was just, how do you move past those things that could potentially stop you? And so the first thing I want to talk about is just this whole notion around giving a name to what I call the monster, right? Just give it a name. So whether it's who does she think she is? I've never done this before. What if they say no? It feels really personal, even though I know we say it doesn't. It isn't personal when you're having these sales conversations. What if I fail? And really spend some time just giving a name, a voice, if you will, to that thing. Not that we want to amplify the voice, but the truth of the matter is the voice is already there. Now we're giving a name to it. Now we are actually calling it out. And that helps take the fear out of it, because it's like, oh, okay, that's a thing. And then what happens, right? And so how then do you move beyond that? So if you're in that place where you're thinking about sales, you're thinking about your goals, we're almost at halfway point in this year, and you're either on track or you're not. It's just either you are or you aren't. No judgment. It just is what it is. But one of the things is allows you to just place yourself. And the lessons, I should say, that I've learned over the years is to just identify where I am. And I'm just like, and to take all the emotion out of it, because I personally can be really hard on myself. It's like, Nadia, you shouldn't. It's like, this is where I am. I am where I am. So whether it's my revenue goals, whether it's my sales goals, whether it's some other goals that I've set for myself, and I'll sit down and I look and I place and identify, and it's just like, you know what? I am where I am. This is where I am. And now that I've identified that, now I can move forward. And the same is true for you as well as this participant in our recent Tighten Up Your Sales Game training. The second thing is I want you then to create your contingency plan. I remember when I was in corporate and I was doing project management, we would do our risk matrix. And then, it was like, well, what are all the things that could happen to prevent us from finishing this project on time? And then you have a list. And then you have the probability, how likely is this to happen? And it could be anything from some natural disaster to, Bob's going to get sick and not be able to get something in, or the customer changes their mind or whatever. And then we put, high, medium, low, like what type of risk or impact might this have should this happen? And there were times when you're like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? But here's why one of the reasons why it was so important is you do this exercise in the beginning of a project, you identify these risks, you then have a plan in case this actually does happen. And now you know what to do. Everyone knows what to do should it happen. And so now you're not spending the time, because now you're in the project, you're moving along, you're doing your thing, whether you're in your business or you're in the middle of a sales conversation. And this thing happens and you're not in the emotion of it, because you're like, oh, okay, just let me go over, pull out my handy dandy plan and do whatever it is that we said we were going to do. And so I want you to take a moment and create your contingency plan. Now that you've identified this thing, whether it's who does she think she is, or it's I don't always know what to say when people have questions about my work, or I spoke with a client just yesterday and she was just like, hey, if I have a sales conversation and they don't say yes, I may send an email or two. And then after that, and I was like, well, we need to fix that. So we're working on her sales system to correct that. But again, it was, I am where I am. And now we're creating the plan on how we're going to move forward. And when you do that ahead of time, outside of the emotion, when you have a level head, if you will, then when it happens, you just break glass in case of emergency, take out your plan, do the thing, and you're not trying to create a plan in the midst of potential chaos, right? And so especially when you're thinking about the emotions that come up for us when we're not on track, when things don't go the way we wanted them to go, or the way we had planned for them to go, we feel like we may have lost money, or we feel like there's been some major brouhaha or embarrassment or whatever. I don't know. There's so many things that can happen in business, right? But it brings up emotions. And let me tell you, when you are emotional and you are in the thick of it, it is very difficult, if not darn near impossible, to think clearly, right? It's just like all senses are. So to alleviate that, we create a plan. And then finally, the third thing is get support. You want to have support. You want to have people, one, that will check on you to see how things are going, but also just people that you can bounce ideas off of to share when those vulnerable moments, when you're just like, this isn't going the way I thought it was going to go, or I'm feeling a certain kind of way about going after my goals. And here's the truth of the matter. When we set really big goals, when we set our sights on things that maybe take us outside of our comfort zone, so maybe it's not this big crazy goal, but it's something that we've never done before. And even though we may be excited about it, we may have a lot of nerves around it. And so, whatever that is, it's helpful to then have those people that will come and rally alongside you to be able to just say, keep going, the rah rahs, or to like, okay, wait a second, I just need a moment to talk this out. It could be an accountability partner, it could be your coach, it could be a mentor, it could be your spouse or partner. It doesn't matter who it is, just identify that person. I will say they need to be a safe place. They need to be someone who supports you, who gets your vision, who isn't going to further echo any types of fears. They acknowledge the fears, they allow you to express your concerns or fears, and then they support you walking through, okay, now that I got that out, because my friends like, all right, you got 7 minutes, girl, to do whatever it is, and then we're gonna, put our thinking caps on, and then what are the next steps? Like, what have you already outlined as your next step? How can I best support you in whatever that is, right? So those are the types of people that I surround myself with. And so you need some of those people as well in your circle. How can we support you and moving past whatever this is? Because I'm telling you, as a business owner, as someone who is working towards creating something a lot of times that's different or new, or just as someone who's having sales conversations, right? Like those things, these things come up, the emotions come up, the doubts sometimes creep in, the fear wants to take over and drive the car. So we just need to be prepared. And sometimes it is just that question, who does she think she is, right? And who does she think she is? I think I'm amazing. I think you're amazing too. So think about it, identify what is that thing that might stop you from achieving your goals, create your contingency plan, get your support, identify them, share, tell them what's going on, so that now as you're going forward doing the things that you said you wanted to do, impacting the lives you said you wanted to impact, you're now properly supported, so that when things, not if, when things don't quite go as planned, you now have the support, you now have a plan on how you're going to keep things moving versus throwing in the towel or allowing yourself to just be overwhelmed or overcome because I just don't know what to do. And I was not prepared for this. And if you're thinking like Dr. Nadia, that all sounds great, and I would love to have more support around this and working with our team, we would love to have you at one of our upcoming Convert Labs. We map out the systems, we think about the contingencies, you have a plan, you know what to do, and you have community. You're not doing this alone. You have support. You have my team, you have the other attendees that are there. It's a nice, tight-knit group. We cap them at 4 people. So we would love to have you to attend. Click the link below for more information and to get our upcoming dates. We'd love to see you there. Take care. Bye-bye.